This video is brought to you by Flying Eyes, makers of the best sunglasses for motorcyclists. Their frames are tough enough to keep up with all the abuse I can dish out, yet flexible enough to be comfortable for an all-day ride. Click that link down below and get 10% off your order with code SC10. Welcome, discerning customer, to the Harley Davidson Rake Emporium, your #1 stop for the ultimate tool of self-flagellation. Man, Harley's having a rough go of it right now, man. I did not expect to make 2 news videos on Harley Davidson in 1 week. Oh, man. But I do have to tell you guys right now, if you are here for anything other than talking about moving production to Thailand or referencing the last video, this isn't the video for you. If you were looking to simply get mad about something that the CEO said one time, this is not your video. Go find another one. By the way, I'm never gonna cover that here because it's not relevant to motorcycling. So what happened this time? What rake did Harley step on? Well, they have decided to move all of the production of Rev Max motors to Thailand, and this has sent ripples throughout the Harley Davidson community, and they have raged at Harley Davidson to no end, saying that they're abandoning their American principles, as I channel Shade Tree Surgeon. Once more have they ascended the ladder of capitalism and sacrificed their brand on the altar of the almighty dollar. Except honestly, guys, this really isn't that big of a deal, and I'm gonna tell you why a little bit later on. All right, so what is going on? It's honestly super duper simple. Harley Davidson has taken anything that has to do with the Revolution Max motor and they have moved production overseas to Thailand. That kind of happens a lot in the motorcycling industry, and a lot of brands do this. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit later. And honestly, this is a decision that makes a lot of sense to me, because if you look at the 2 different motors that Harley Davidson uses, right? Yeah, okay, they have a couple of different displacements throughout this one family, but the Milwaukee 8 is just one motor. I don't care if it's 103, 107, 114, 117, or 131, it's still just the Milwaukee 8 motor. Sure, some of them have liquid cooled heads, some of them have that like tri-cooling where there's oil cooled, liquid cooled, whatever. It's still just the Milwaukee 8. It doesn't really make sense to be manufacturing one big core motor alongside the other motor. They're very different. They require very different production capabilities, and the design process is very different. It's not just big pistons in cylinders on a crank. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into the Rev Max motor. I've actually seen exploded views of the Rev Max, and it looks a lot more like the inside of a KTM motor than it does an original Harley motor. This is gonna take place for every Rev Max in the model year 2025. So if you want an American-made version of the Rev Max, you gotta get yourself in, get one now, because they are going to shift all production over to Thailand. Now, one thing that's a little bit odd is in a statement from Harley Davidson to Ride Apart, they said that this move optimizes production capacity for the Grand American Touring and other core product segments such as the Softail and Trike motorcycles at our York, PA facility. Additionally, building on the DOE grant, as part of this move, we are investing in an additional $9 million into our U.S. manufacturing facilities to focus and strengthen our U.S. manufacturing capabilities and capacity for our core products. Thing is, that DOE grant is not for ICE motorcycles. It's meant for electric bikes. So I don't know why they're getting money out of this. That seems really weird, unless they're gonna be moving like live wire production into York. That seems odd. But the core statement is more or less what I was getting at, where they want to focus on building the Grand American Touring bikes. And this follows right in line with their hardwire strategy, where they're basically doing they're putting all of their effort into a core segment, which personally I think is a huge mistake. I really think they need to be reinvesting in the more modern products, because honestly, that's what gets people excited. When I was involved in a lot of the Pan America launch hype, there was so much interest in the Pan America, and the folks who were on the team were bragging about how this motorcycle had eclipsed the sales of the BMW GS here in the States, and that is no mean feat, because when people want an adventure bike, when it's a dentist or a lawyer who's getting themselves an ADV bike, the first thing they look at is a fully loaded GS. And Harley Davidson knocked that off the perch for a while because people were excited in this new wild thing from the American company. Now, the thing that really bums me out is this is theoretically going to move American jobs abroad. However, Harley Davidson has said that they're not reducing their workforce. However, Harley Davidson's labor union is a little bit worried that they're going to see reduction in staff, and I don't blame them. Let's look at another industry very briefly. One that's had a lot of mass layoffs in the last year, the video game industry. One of the ways that the higher-ups out of a video game industry will increase their profit is by laying off hundreds of people, because suddenly all of those salaries and all the benefits that they were paying off, well, that can go to pay the CEO's bonus. It happens all the time, and it would really, really suck to see that happen with Harley Davidson. So I am going to be monitoring this, because if we see a layoff at Harley Davidson, that's going to be a bummer. And remember, when they got rid of the street line, they closed down the Kansas City plant. But now we need to talk about one of the issues that I think people are overblowing here, and that is the country of origin of your motorcycles. It really doesn't matter, guys. It really doesn't matter where it's made, because the production materials are all the same, whether it's made in Japan, Italy, Germany, or America. They're all using the same machines because this stuff is CNC milled or it's cast in a mold. I'm gonna have a pair of articles linked down in the description below, and I highly encourage you to take a look at them, because it reveals actually kind of a lot about this topic. It's gonna shed a lot of light here. And one of them that I'm referencing right here is written in 2020 by Ben Purvis, so some of this stuff has and will change in the last 4 years. But I want to call out a few models that are made in other markets than you would expect. So Honda, big for one of the leading Japanese brands, well, they make their 650 motors, their inline 4 650s. They're made in Thailand. The Rebel 500, all those parallel twins, made in Thailand. Let's move over to Yamaha. The R3 is made in Indonesia. MT-03, also made in Indonesia. The Tenere 700, the T7, made in France, of all places. So, you know, if you want your motorcycle smelling like baguettes, get a T7. Kawasaki makes their Versys 650s in Thailand. Suzuki makes their 250 motorcycles in China. Oh, but Triumph, where do you think your Street Triple comes from, guys? That's coming from Thailand. But Ducati, okay, Ducati has to make all of their motorcycles in Italy, right? They're the Italian brand. Where are they made? Well, the Super Sport, which doesn't exist anymore, some of them are made in Italy, some of them are made in Thailand. The Scrambler line, some of them are made in Italy, some of them are made in Thailand. BMW makes its 310s in India. And KTM has recently moved the production of their parallel twins to China. And the funny thing is, with moving all that stuff over to China, the warranty claims, I've heard anecdotally from dealerships, the warranty claims have gone through the floor, meaning that the bikes out of China are more reliable than the ones made in Austria. And personally, I have evidence of that sitting in my garage right now. The 690 has a whole bunch of issues right now. It's overheating. I'm pretty sure the thermoswitch is broken. It's got a whole bunch of problems, and it was made in Austria. Frankly, I would prefer if it was made in China or Indonesia, because I know I've ridden a whole bunch of CF motos. They have the same quality as my $13,000 KTM, and not one of them I have ridden has had a problem. I want to say to those folks who are like, well, I'm switching to Indian because Indian's the only American brand now. Indian is bullshit. Indian is Polaris's sock puppet that they've put on top of Victory. All of those Indian motorcycles that you think are these big heritage motorcycles, bullshit. They're f***ing Victories. And those are made in Europe, not here in the United States. So all you Indian people who are like, America! Look at where your bike's built, buddy. The second article I'm gonna list down below has the breakdown for how to decode your VIN and figure out where your motorcycle is made. It's gonna have a whole bunch of stuff, but essentially what you're looking at is the first 3 digits of your VIN code. So 1HD from Harley Davidson means it is made in the US, and then there usually are factory codes a little bit further down. I know that the Kansas City, Missouri plant was C, so if you had a C in your Harley Davidson VIN, I think in the 5th or 6th position, that meant it was Kansas City, and there's one for the York, PA plant. All of these manufacturers are meant to, in their VIN codes, have these WMI, World Manufacturer Identifiers, which tell you where your bike was built. So do yourself a favor and check your VIN code. And actually, while you're doing that, I've mentioned this a ton of times, but run out to your garage, check out that article down below, and let me know in the comments where your motorcycle was made and if it's made in the market you expected it to be made in. That would actually be kind of surprising if somebody's like, well, you know, I thought my Yamaha was made in Japan, but it's actually from Indonesia, or I thought my Honda was Japan and it was Thailand. Let me know if the bike that you bought was built in the market you thought it was built in. So at the end of the day, I really have no issues whatsoever with Harley Davidson moving production to Thailand. The one thing I will say is it is a little bit odd to see Harley Davidson moving a tent-pole bike, one of their biggest draw motorcycles, to an outside market. Usually, those bikes are made in the home market. So, you know, the R1 is made in Japan. The CBR 1000 made in Japan. What that tells me is that Harley Davidson really does not consider the Rev Max and the Pan America specifically to be a flagship motorcycle, which kind of is a shame. If you're gonna make a bike for cheaper in another market, we need to see some savings. You need to drop the price of the Pan America because it's not a premium product made in the United States. It's a premium product, but it's made in Thailand where you're saving a whole bunch of cash. So you gotta pass those savings on to us. I'm not paying $25,000 for a fully loaded Pan America that's made in Thailand. Just not doing it. The only thing about this whole project that will put a bad taste in my mouth is if we do see a reduction in the workforce here in the United States. What I'd like to see is Harley Davidson not pocket that $9 million from the DOE grant and send it up the chain to the C-suite. They need to reinvest in building jobs here in the United States. If they do that, no issues moving production over to Thailand because they could bring in more people, build and stimulate the economy here. At the end of the day, when it comes to the workforce thing, it's really just gonna be time will tell. And if Harley Davidson does start cutting American labor forces, I will be the first one here on YouTube to start shouting at them about that because that would be massive disappointment for the American brand. Let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments below. Again, I really don't have issues with this so long as they don't cut the American workforce. Just doesn't bother me because I don't care where my bike's made. And with that, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.